Because of the way the virus travels through our breathing.
This is Washington State Governor Jay Inslee announcing new COVID-19 restrictions at a press conference on Sunday, November 15th. So, what does this mean? Is Thanksgiving canceled? Are we officially in another lockdown? Well, let's see why more restrictions are being put in place and take a look at these new rules so we can decide what's best for ourselves. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Community Promo. So these new rules are set to take place this week in Washington State in all counties. And one thing to note before we go through these rules are if you see an activity that isn't listed, it's just supposed to follow its current guidelines. Another thing to note is that all K-12 and higher education, healthcare, and childcare are exempt from these rules and will just follow their current guidance. So let's get started with the first rule. The first restriction deals with indoor social gatherings, and it pretty much just states that you can't hang out with people who you don't live with unless they A. quarantine for 14 days before the gathering, or B. quarantine for 7 days before the social gathering and receive a negative result on a COVID-19 test. This means if you're having Thanksgiving plans with friends or family outside of your home, in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19, it's advised that you start quarantining yourself and take a COVID-19 test ASAP. Next is a rule on social outside gatherings. Any outside gatherings with people you don't live with is limited to 5 people. Restriction number 3 prevents bars and restaurants from doing dine-in services. However, to-go and outdoor dining services are allowed with a maximum of 5 people gathering outside. Next, fitness facilities and gyms will stop all indoor operations. However, outdoor fitness classes are allowed to continue, but only with a limit of 5 people per class. Additionally, bowling center indoor services, in-person meetings, movie theaters, museums, zoos, aquariums, and real estate open houses are all prohibited. According to restriction 6, quote, only professional training and testing that cannot be performed remotely, as well as court and judicial branch-related proceedings are allowed, end quote. Next, Guidance Rule 10 states that all weddings and funerals are limited to 30 people and are not allowed to be held inside. Rules 11 to 14 state all in-store retail services, religious services, professional services, or personal/cosmetic services are required to run at 25% of indoor occupancy limits. In addition, professional services are required to have, quote, employees work from home when possible and close offices to the public if possible, end quote. The next rule deals with long-term care facilities. Pretty much, they are allowed to have outdoor visits, but indoor visits are mostly prohibited. Lastly, indoor youth and adult sporting activities, including contests and games, are prohibited. However, according to Rule 16, quote, outdoor activities shall be limited to intra-team practices only, with facial coverings required for all coaches, volunteers, and athletes always, end quote. So, those are pretty much all of the new restrictions put up for the next few weeks, but why were they put up in the first place? Taking a look at the Washington State Governor's website, quote, Washington sees a consistent increasing daily case counts with over 2,000 cases a day over the weekend and average cases in the state doubling over the past 2 weeks, end quote. And when looking at the first 2 weeks of November, new daily cases in Washington State hit an all-time high at 2,238 positive cases on November 14th. So if you think you've been exposed to the coronavirus or you think you might be sick, please get tested. I've listed a bunch of links for testing locations in Washington State and Whitman County, as well as all of the other materials listed in the description box below. And lastly, you might be thinking, well, what if I don't follow any of these rules? Well, according to the governor's proclamation of this order, people who violate these rules may receive criminal penalties according to the Revised Code of Washington, or RCW Title 43, Chapter 6, Section 220, Item 5, that says, quote, any person willfully violating any provision of an order issued by the governor under this section is guilty of a gross misdemeanor, end quote. Therefore, make sure you guys are social distancing, getting tested, and making sure you're not spreading anything over Thanksgiving break, and make sure you follow these rules so we can help stop the spread of coronavirus in Washington State. So I hope you guys learned something about the new updates that Governor Jay Inslee has put into effect, and I'm kind of curious, what are your thoughts on these rules? Comment down below. Also, make sure you share this video with a friend, make sure you give us a thumbs up, subscribe, check out some of our other content, and as always, go Cougs!